Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you again, Walter, for being here. We're so delighted to have you. And thank you for that great welcome and getting us grounded in the importance of our caregivers and early educators and our young children. Again, I'm Stephanie Berglund, the CEO of Thread, and I'm thankful for all of you joining us today. As you just heard from Walter's remarks, the care and education of our youngest is the most important thing we can focus on, and it needs our collective work to build solutions. And I'm so honored to partner with so many of you in this effort. This morning, I'm going to share some of the current data on childcare in Alaska, updates of what Thread's been up to, and where we are working to meet Alaska's childcare challenge. While there has been great attention to childcare over the last several years, childcare does remain in crisis in our state. Some of the most common questions we receive is, how do you know it's still in crisis? And how will we know when the crisis has been averted? At the same time, there's been more progress than ever of all of us coming together for solutions, from policymakers and businesses and many of us across the state. We've seen great strides in policies and funding, and we've seen partnership grow, and all of that has made an incredible difference. So with so much progress, work, and partnerships matched with a sector that often feels like it's standing still and not making the gains we'd like to see, what is happening and why is childcare not yet working for families and businesses? At Thread, we measure the childcare sector looking at access, affordability, and quality. All of them are important for a strong, stable, and sustainable sector. So let's look at each of those. When we look at access, we still have a major access issue for childcare. There's simply not enough. Some communities have none at all. And we know that there's not enough to allow for parent choice. We know that families not only just want a space in an early childhood program, they want a caregiver to love them like they do. And they want care that can meet their child's and their family's needs. For example, the sector can't meet families' needs right now. We have less than 50 licensed childcare businesses that are open past 6:30 p.m. in the state. And for infants care, there's often a 2-year waiting list. So we're not able to meet the demand that's there. Statewide, we have licensed and regulated spaces for just over 14,000 children who are under the age of 6. And that includes in childcare, in pre-K, in our Head Start programs, and our military programs. The total demand is over 33,500, so that gap of care is nearly 20,000 children. We could double the amount of spaces that we have right now, and that still would not be meeting the demand that we have. And that's just for children under 6. So think of that. We have a whole nother cohort of important school-age children who need before and after school care. We know there's great shortage in that school-age care, important care for those children and families who have children through the age of 13. Access in childcare and our early education program has been declining. And some say, well, we're seeing an outmigration and we have fewer children here. And that's true, but the gap has still widened more than ever. We're seeing new childcare programs close. That's a really positive thing, but we're not yet seeing the net gain that we need to improve that access that's needed. In fact, just last month, we learned of a large program in Kodiak that had closed who had capacity to serve over 100 children. When we consider affordability, we know that childcare is very expensive. It's considered unaffordable by most families. Families continue to report cost as the biggest barrier, as they're spending on average 15% of their income on childcare. Their costs are often their largest household expense, exceeding their rent and mortgage. And there is a huge need for financial support, but unfortunately, the utilization of our childcare assistance program is very low. I'm so proud of our family services team who supports families with childcare referrals and connects them with the childcare financial assistance they need to access this care. We work with and hear from families every day. They are stressed. They do not know what to do. They can't find care. They can't find care they can afford. And we simply don't have what they need. They can't find what they need and what they're looking for. And let's look at quality. We know that connecting families to quality early care and education supports their children and their families now and later. It's now widely known that a strong, healthy start for young children and families sets them all up for greater success now and in the future. And this includes high quality early childhood program experiences. And key to those quality experiences is the teacher. You just heard all of that from Walter. You heard from Walter how the teachers are doing and how they need our help. With struggles to recruit and retain more staff and teachers feeling burnt out, we are seeing high turnover. And without that stability in the workforce, early childhood programs are struggling to stay open. With workforce shortages and high turnover, we have a sector that remains unstable. Our professional development team at Thread works to support early educators in programs and ensuring that they're skilled and competent to provide the very best care and education. I'm super excited of how we have creatively designed several programs over the last few years to ensure we're meeting the growing needs of the sector. Our daily work is both proactive and reactive, meeting families and early educators where they're at. We've scaled services to support early educator requests. We've targeted training as we learn of the growing challenging behaviors and slower social skill development in young children. And we're partnering with businesses, communities, and funders than ever to respond to growing needs. While these statistics can feel bleak, there has been great progress that we want to celebrate, and we will continue that momentum that has fueled change over the last several years. Since the last summit in 2023, the ideas and energy shared helped drive real change across Alaska. Together, we turned those conversations and ideas into action and have achieved historic new state and local investments and policies that are strengthening our childcare system. This includes the passage of a Senate Bill 95 to expand childcare assistance, passage of Senate Bill 96 to allow for new tax credits for businesses, and more than $5.8 million in new state operating grants. Yes. In addition, the Governor's Child Care Task Force convened to shape recommendations to improve access to affordable, quality childcare statewide. And we know that you're going to hear more about this great progress in our next panel, but it's important to acknowledge that's progress and success and deserves lots of celebration. But what we're celebrating is these wins belong to all of you. It's the advocates, partners, and legislative champions who have made all of them possible. So I want to say thank you. So while there have been progress and partnerships and more solutions than ever, our sector does remain in crisis. And let's look at now at how it's impacting our families, businesses, and our economy.
Thanks, you. On the topic of childcare, I always am reminded of a saying that it takes a village. And without childcare, I feel like in a modern sense, we're ignoring that old time saying that it takes a village. I'm unable to work in Sitka because there is no available childcare that's affordable for us. And because of that, I'm staying at home.
Quality childcare is so important. We're seeing a big gap between the supply and demand of childcare across the state, and we're really focused on how we can help build the supply across the state. So Thread's been working to partner and advocate and work with local communities to try to find solutions and help them creatively problem solve the need to build more childcare.
We know there's a ton of untapped potential out there. We know people are sitting on the sidelines that are able-bodied and ready to work, but they just can't find the childcare, or it's just a little bit too unaffordable for them. And imagine what we could do as an economy if they were able to enter the workforce, how we could grow, and how we could spend less money searching for people outside the state of Alaska when we know we have good Alaskans here ready to work.
This isn't just an individual component, it's a component that requires the community's effort. If my employees don't have childcare, they can't come to their shifts, and things like our 24-hour operation may have to shut down, which actually occurred during our winter timeframe.
Every single industry said that childcare was one of their issues with their employees. And when we dug deeper, we found this coalition, the Early Childhood Coalition, and found all of this evidence that Sitka is in a crisis with childcare. We have taken it up as one of our initiatives, and we are working actively every week, every month to try to change the trajectory of what our childcare situation is and help to support families, help to support workforce so that people can come back into their jobs.
One of the first things we did a couple years ago was put together this Career Pathways Summit. That's where I was like, well, we need to get high school kids taking dual enrollment classes in this. And so I approached the universities and looked into their early childhood education programs. And so I thought, well, couldn't they get a certificate in early childhood ed or something in a childcare related field? Then they could graduate high school and be ready to go for a job.
This was the first year that it was taking students, and we already were able to hire one of the students. She liked our program enough that she wanted to stick around, and we're very grateful.
But what's really unique where we've been growing our services and focusing our attention is how we can support businesses and communities with creative solutions. And that includes innovative partnerships like we're doing with some of the tribes across the state of looking at how we can help them grow family childcare, utilize some of their federal resources and local expertise, coupled with our childcare supports to create new programs and innovative solutions.
We worked with Thread as part of a community assessment to get an idea of what are the needs in Sitka regarding childcare. And so part of that assessment gave us things that we could work on. For example, the relative and in-home provider programs. So with those programs, we hope to increase the opportunities for childcare.
Well, this last year we spent over $300,000 on stabilization grants for the childcare centers here in Sitka. This went to supplementing wages. It went to utilities and bills like that. It was to help stabilize them after the COVID pandemic and get them to a place that they could try and function on their own without the extra support.
I do want to highlight that we did just pass a child care tax credit here in Alaska. It passed earlier this year and was signed into law by the governor. And that is going to provide businesses that are taxpayers the opportunity to use a credit to apply towards child care. And it is wildly flexible. And so we are hoping that businesses look into that tax credit and know that that's a tool available to them, and that is one opportunity to solve the problem. Again, not a silver bullet.
The issue that we really struggle with is then these people are trying to figure out how they can manage it with us. I've had situations where we try to look at flexible work schedules. If it's a need that we have, what's your need and how do we figure out a best way to solve the problem together?
And so as an employer, when we look at it, we have evolved because we used it as a recruiting tool. And what I mean by that is that our success, my success, is directly tied to the quality of the people that I employ and that I work with. And if I can create an environment and find ways to get the best people, then I will get the best product. And so we have evolved to have hybrid work environments, to stagger our schedules, to be flexible enough to allow people to get their full-time job through doing full-time hours, just in ways that allows them to do what's most important, and that's to parent their children.
Our business community is wanting to be part of the solution, but I think what we're struggling with is figuring out what that looks like. So we have spent some time just understanding what the challenge is, where do we need to focus, and what we find is that we need to all be part of the solution, and the business community is part of that.
What is going to fix it is innovative ideas and employers that are willing to step up, and then maybe a government that will help us. And when I say help us, I'm not asking for handouts or, grant funding is good, but what I'm talking about is reward success, or how about this? don't penalize us if we are actively involved in daycare.
We need this now. Childcare continues to be in crisis, and we need the investment now. We don't want to wait for another generation of children, and the opportunity is for us to come together and continue to work for solutions. What I love about this video is how community and coming together are woven for a recipe for us all of how there can be more innovation ahead. One of the keys to success for childcare has been in the partnerships that we have shared and working together towards solutions. And you saw in the video, Katie Capozzi and Rachel Roy. I want to give them a special thank you for their partnership. The leadership of these two fabulous women with the Alaska Chamber and the Sitka Chamber has really made a difference. So thank you both for stepping into this space. Engaging the business voice has really created movement in policy and in action. So thank you for that. You heard a little bit about what Thread's doing, and I want to share a little about what we're doing to help move the needle in childcare. We are fully committed to a vision of a well-functioning and a well-funded childcare system, and we know it's possible. We know it's possible when 2 years ago we convened stakeholders and partners, many who we had been talking to with individually, but never together, to focus on a Childcare Works initiative. And there was very quick consensus in that room. Many of you were there that affordable, universal childcare is possible. And together we made a plan for the first phase of how we'll get there. We know it's possible when we meet with community members and business leaders, policymakers, with you, and everyone is ready to roll up their sleeves saying, yes, this is important, this is an issue, and we want to be part of the solution. Let's do this. So we know the sector can move past the current struggles with more of what has worked the last few years. Building from Thread's history and expertise, we're committed to keep growing our capacity to work to bringing us and partners together to drive the change that we need. We work to be innovative in our services. We're streamlining our services where we can, providing more high-touch support where needed most, and we're scaling what we know works. In addition, we're piloting offering a new Start Your Business of Caring initiative to guide entrepreneurs through starting new childcare businesses. And in Anchorage, we're piloting health and wellness benefits, including telehealth and mental health, together with a whole menu of other benefit offerings, all in an effort to offset some of those stressors that Walter talked about earlier. We're growing our resources to support the field. Over the last few years, with generous support from the State of Alaska Department of Health, we were able to invest in innovation grants for the very first time that infused over $14 million into 17 community projects to strengthen childcare. You're going to hear from some of those communities today. And last year, we were proud to engage more of the economic development community to bridge childcare with local economic development work. And we're investing in partnerships. We're making time to serve communities, including local governments, school districts, tribes and Native communities, and businesses, including the Alaska Chamber and local chambers across the state. We're also investing in capacity to build our public policy work and continued advocacy. We're actively growing our research and data, and we're raising our voice with many of you as well to create change. And we will continue to both raise money and advocate for additional money to improve the conditions for this important sector. In a decade, what is your boldest hope for the sector? Ours is to expand solutions to make childcare work. It's that there's enough access to meet families' needs, that all early educators have comprehensive benefits, and that there is a determined, and we've figured out, a better financing model to support thriving early childhood businesses. Just imagine if childcare worked for you, the families around you, the businesses and the communities, it would be incredible. Because of our collective work, Alaska is moving forward. We're moving from crisis toward building a stronger sector together. And we can move the needle, ensuring conditions for childcare get better, how we use it, engage with it, and how we all can work within it. We're ready to build on the current momentum and keep applying what we've learned, including what we learned here today, and with all of you to shape the next rounds of solutions for families and early childhood professionals. So this is our opportunity. This is our opportunity for how we can make things better. I'm here to say it's possible with the amazing leadership of our great legislators, partners, with you, the business community. We can all come together for collective change. It's possible, and we can move the sector from one that is unstable to one that is sustainable and thriving. Together, we can create more access to that needed, affordable, and high-quality childcare. I want to thank you again for being here, and I look forward to continuing to build solutions and create opportunities with you.